Greetings, family. Today we are doing a Q&A about tensor technology. I've had questions over the years of creating this tech, and I am here to answer the questions. So we have a list of a bunch of questions, the whole array. So we're gonna get into it. We're gonna start from the simple question of what is tensor technology? Okay, so let's look at the name first. So the tensor is it's simply a word for the energy field that is within the ring. It's like a mathematical formula, basically. The tensor field is another name for an energy field. Basically, Slim Sperling, the being that discovered this technology along with other beings, he was doing a bunch of research and he came across this fellow, I believe his name was John Archibald Wheeler, and this fellow, had this term, a tensor field, and it's like the plane of energy. So, that's where Slim got the word tensor ring from and why we call it tensor technology. It could also be called light technology or quantum technology or life force technology or chi technology or pranic technology. It's the life force energy within the ring, which is the purpose of why we create this technology. It's a very divinely intelligent energy field that is healing and beneficial to all life. So these rings will actually create a beam of energy. So for instance, I'm drinking my morning my morning brew, and if I point the ring at this coffee, which is basically mainly water with coffee bean, it's beginning to structure and enliven and lighten up the water within the coffee. So basically anything that comes within the beam of this ring is being enlightened, is being harmonized, is being structured or purified, or the negative energies, everything is frequency and vibration. And whatever is within the beam will be transmuted and dissolved. And so when we're speaking about the harmonizer, that's why Slim would say, there's a certain interview with Alan Steinfeld. It's one of my favorite interviews, called New Realities. Highly suggest checking out this interview. Slim would talk about how the energy field overrides almost like an effortless dissolving of negative energies or harmful energies or frequencies or anti-life energies, because in this universe we basically have positive and negative, right? I've been studying the book, one sec. For years I've been studying the law of one, and this is a channeled text from a collective consciousness called Ra. They refer to themselves as Ra, and they say that they're from the sixth density. I don't want to get too carried away here, but basically there's two sides of the universe, right? there's positive and negative, at least until you reach a certain density or dimension when everything becomes one again, right? So the polarity, the positive and the negative, you basically choose a side as a soul, right? You choose whether you're going to be a kind, loving, service to others oriented soul, or a manipulative, controlling, dominating, enslaving, negative soul, which is service to self. And we could say in spiritual terms, when we're talking about spiritual practices, it's the difference between like ego consciousness and cosmic consciousness. So there's this polarity in the universe, and because everything is frequency and vibration, with the technology, we have this positive energy, this beneficial, life-giving energy coming off of this technology. In the interview with Slim in the New Realities, I believe he spoke about the military was aware of him, and they were attempting to weaponize tensor technology, and it's impossible because it's only benevolent. This technology is for beings that are in resonance with the service to others path, with the path of unity consciousness, with the path of merging with each other, with devotion to love and to healing. So yeah, I'm so excited to be here and to be finally sharing in this way, building up the confidence in self to step in front of a camera and to really just let go and not care, but to pour out the knowledge that has been so dear to me in the past years. Okay, this feels good. Okay, so the first question we got was, what is tensor technology and how does it work? Okay, let's get into how it works. So we have copper wire. This is 99.9% pure copper wire. And with this ring, I've cut to the sacred cubit measurement. So this is a very important aspect about tensor technology, is the measurements that we cut our twisted wire to. So the first things first is we want to get any kind of wire, right? So here we have copper wire, and copper, because it's the main source of metal that we utilize with the tensor tech. We make silver technology. We can also gold plate our wire, but copper, because it's the conductor of the energy, the divine electricity. And so what we do is we twist our wire clockwise. The original rings, I believe, were called caduceus coils, or yeah, I think that's the way you say it. And they had a positive and a negative end because the wire wasn't twisted at the time. So Slim would have these rings that had a positive and a negative, but you had to mark it, because if you were, pointing the negative end at you, it wasn't beneficial. It was actually detrimental. And there's a lot of stories in the book Slim Sperling's Universe, which is an amazing book that I highly recommend reading. You can get a PDF copy of it and print it out at a local store, like a Staples or any print shop. And Yeah, it's totally worth it because the original copy is more of a rare gem of a book. Um, it's like $200 on eBay, and yeah, it's more difficult to acquire. But the original rings, they had a positive and negative end, and then Slim twisted it one day, and then cut the cubit, which the word cubit, I believe, is the elbow. The etymology of the word is the elbow. So the length from the tip of the finger to the elbow. And specifically this cubit, this sacred or royal cubit, comes from the king's chamber, which when we go back to the law of one, I've connected the dots and realized that Ra, these beings, these extraterrestrial beings came to serve the law of one, and they actually built pyramids, which in fact could be how the Giza pyramid was constructed. I'm not claiming that that is 100%, but in this book, one of the first things Ra speaks about is the building of the pyramids. It happens to be one of the first questions. It's right in session 2 and session 3, and they get right into the pyramid. So the sacred cubit, I believe, was from Ra, from these extraterrestrial beings who are 3 dimensions or densities, higher, billions of years in the future, that are bringing us these measurements that is clearly a divine ordinance, and measuring these blocks where when you have these specific measurements, you're creating this specific frequency. So it happens to be that when we cut our wire, this one is fractioned divided by 4, so with our tech, we can fraction it down, right? But the original measurement is 20.63. It's around that area. As long as you hit that area, 20.6, I go by 20.63 utilizing a digital caliper. And when we twist it and we put it and we braze it or solder it into the ring, and now we have 144 megahertz of energy coming off of this ring, and each qubit tends to focus and have a different healing potentiality than other qubits. And because it's a different energy, it's a different frequency, it's a different geometry, it's a different intelligence in combination with the life force. And I'll share a little bit about this concept of positive and negative merge. So I was first speaking about how everything has a polarity, right? So we could say duality. But there's also the fact of dissolving polarity and creating this scalar, or Tesla called them longitudinal waves. It's a different wave. It's a different energy than electromagnetic. So it's also like orgone, right, or cosmic energy. What Wilhelm Reich called it, orgone. Slim just called it tensor. He knew it was the life force energy. But this energy is a non-dual. It's a non-polar. It doesn't have a polarity. And that's what we're doing with the rings, is we're basically negating the polarity by twisting it clockwise, right? So the original rings had that polarity, that positive and the negative end. But when we twist it and we braze it, we now have an energy field flowing this way, and then an energy field flowing this way. And it's like the masculine and feminine, the divine union. When two beings merge their polarity and unify with each other. And scalar waves are a Mobius coil, right? It's the infinity loop, and it's like a cancellation, a dissolving of the polarity and a shining forth. So when we look at non-duality in the teachings of the masters like Ramana Maharshi, who is a beloved teacher of mine, he would talk about, how you are the self, right? What he's saying is you are non-duality, the consciousness in which duality, or the scalar field in which electromagnetism appears. There has to be this underlying consciousness, this underlying life force, this foundation in which duality or polarity appears. And according to the law of one, until we get to the sixth density is when we start to, like, the whole concept of duality totally disappears and you become totally one. But the cosmic comedy and trip about this is that we're already one. We're already the Buddha. And that is spirituality. That's all it is consciousness becoming aware of itself. And that is liberation, that is freedom here and now. And so I'm sharing all this because spirituality is extremely related to tensor technology. It's hand in hand. I come from a background of, I'm 29 years old. When I was 21 years old, I was basically in rehabs and hospitals, and I drove myself. That was my life plan, to drive myself into addiction, and then seek the source from that. So I went to the rooms of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and they spoke about the higher power, and right away I was graced with teachers like Eckhart Tolle and New Earth, The Power of Now, and started listening to teachers like Paul Hederman, non-dual teachers, Rupert Spira, Muji, Ramana, Nisargadatta, basically all the masters, like Ram Dass. Fell in love with Ram Dass, had pictures of them all over my room. I turned my room into a sanctuary. But I'm sharing this because that's where I come from. I had no idea about tensor technology, and I surrendered my life over to this higher power to the best of my ability, as that is what we are doing every moment, in order to be of greatest service to this universe and to our brothers and our sisters and all beings. And I ended up, a few years into sobriety, going to a holistic school, and I was looking for, the modality of what I was here to do, as I wake up and this is my duty. I was in class one day. I also share this on the YouTube, the creation story of Muna's Magica. If you scroll down, you can see it's like a green thumbnail with the heart chakra. I kind of share more in detail, but basically is that I was in class and I met this beautiful being, and she sat beside me, and I ended up giving her a ride home, and she came out of her home with a ring, and she gave it to me almost like with this knowingness that this is what you're gonna do. Seriously. And I was like, man, what is this copper ring? I just put it to the side. Had no interest. I didn't know anything about this. And then she showed me these Slim Sperling videos where Slim was like, he had the Lost Cubit and the Sacred. They're like 5-minute videos on YouTube on the Light Life video. And Slim would be going like this. And he would be talking about this unseen energy field, talking about qubits and measurement lengths and, harmonizing and healing. And you would see videos of rings put all over beings, and I was like, man, there's something to this. And so I basically really got interested in Slim. And I'm sharing this because I come from self-inquiry and these things like these spiritual practices, and a lot of people, just hear about the tech and are just getting into awakening. But it was years into my journey in this incarnation that I came across this tech, and I just knew it was following my heart, being surrendered to Creator, saying prayers of how can I be of service. And then, I knew. I started Muna's Magica, and Muna being silent in Sanskrit. And magic speaks for itself, because the magic is within not only the healing energy field of the ring, but it's the greater magic of connecting with our vital life force, our own vitality, our own eternal source of energy within ourselves. And a lot of beings that are interested in tensor technology and life force energy technology, like orgone or rodent coils or pyramids, there's a whole realm of this technology, and that's now coming more into the collective. But it has to do with the magic of life itself, and love and magic, and that is what is actually unfolding, and that there's a deeper symbology to this technology. It's not just about what the ring is doing for us, harmonizing EMF, structuring water, blasting us with an infinite source of vital life force, but it's beyond coming into the consciousness of this non-dual, non-polar, coming into intelligent infinity as ourself, and realizing that we are the law of one. So my battery is at 1%. I'm gonna pause this video and share it, and then I'll be back. It happened to be that this Q&A was simply, I got into some other topics, but I'll come back and focus more on the tech, and sending love to your heart, and enjoy this now.